Hello and welcome. You know, every single app you use, from scrolling through your social media to checking your bank balance, it all has this hidden foundation, a kind of secret architecture that makes it all work. Today, we're going to gently pull back that curtain. We're going to talk about data design.
So, let's start with a really simple question. Before a single line of code is ever written, before anyone even thinks about buttons or colors, what's the very first thing that actually needs to be built? Just let that sink in for a moment. Well, the answer is the blueprint. I mean, you wouldn't build a house without a detailed plan, right? The same is absolutely true for software. Data design is that blueprint. It's the thoughtful, careful plan for how all the information is going to be structured and organized long before the first digital brick is ever laid. The great architect Frank Lloyd Wright said it perfectly. It's so much easier, cheaper, and just plain smarter to fix a mistake on paper than it is to tear down a wall you've already built. And really, that's the entire philosophy of data design in one sentence. It's all about thinking before you do. So what is it, formally speaking? Well, data design is simply the process of creating a model of the information your software is going to need. It's that absolutely crucial step that takes all the ideas and requirements for a new app and translates them into a concrete plan that developers can actually build from. So you've got two paths a project can take. On one side, without data design, you just get chaos. Features start conflicting with each other, bugs pop up everywhere, and trying to make one simple change can feel like playing Jenga in an earthquake. But on the other path, with good data design, you get clarity and order. The system is stable, it's easy to maintain, and it can grow over time without falling apart. Okay, so let's dive into the core of this. The really beautiful thing is that this whole seemingly complex topic can be broken down into three simple building blocks. And we're going to think about it like we're telling a story. Because really, any system, no matter how complicated, is just telling a story with its data. Our very first building block is the nouns of our story. These are the main things. The characters, the subjects. In the world of data design, we call these objects. So think of a data object as just a bundle of information. It represents a key thing that the software has to understand. It could be a person, like a user, a thing, like a product in a store, or even an event, like an appointment on your calendar. These are the main characters in our system's story. Just think about the apps you use every day. On Instagram, a user is an object, right? But so is a post, and so is a comment. If you're on Amazon, a product is an object, and so is your shopping cart. They're the fundamental nouns that everything else revolves around. Let's just pause on that for a second. Before any action, before any code, the very first step is just choosing the main characters. We're deciding who and what will populate this little world we're about to build. It's this quiet, foundational act of creation. Okay, so now we have our characters, our nouns, but right now they're just concepts. We need to describe them. We need adjectives. And in data design, we call these attributes. Attributes are the specific details that really bring a data object to life. They're the properties that describe each of our nouns. So if our object is a person, what do we actually need to know about that person? That's what attributes are for. Let's go back to that user object. What are its attributes? Well, a user has a username, an email address, probably a password, maybe a profile picture URL. Every single one of those details is an attribute. They're the descriptive facts we need to store about each of our characters. And just like that, our characters start to feel real. With these attributes, with these little descriptions, they're not just empty outlines anymore. They have names, they have properties, they have features that make them unique. They're starting to take on a personality. So we have our characters, and we've described them. We have our nouns and our adjectives. But they aren't doing anything yet. They're just kind of standing there. For a story to actually happen, we need action. We need verbs. And in data design, we call these relationships. This part is so important. Relationships are what define how our different data objects connect and interact with each other. They are the logical links that basically form the plot of our story. Without them, all we have is a list of characters and their descriptions, not a system that actually works. For instance, a user posts a photo. Posts is the verb. It's the relationship connecting those two objects. A student enrolls in a course. A customer owns a shopping cart. See? These relationships are the actions that make the whole system come alive. So, with our nouns, adjectives, and verbs all defined, our objects, our attributes, and our relationships, we finally have everything we need. A story can now begin. Okay, theory is great, but let's see how all these building blocks come together in a practical, real-world example. We're going to leave the abstract behind for a minute and look at how this creates a clear, functional system that you could totally imagine a city using.
Okay, imagine a city wants an app to track and repair potholes. Using our 3 building blocks, the blueprint becomes pretty simple. Our main objects, the nouns, are obvious. We've got a pothole, a work order to fix it, and maybe a damage file for when a car gets damaged. Then we define the attributes. For a pothole, we need its location, its size, and, this is key, its repair priority. That one choice makes the whole system useful. It helps the city decide which pothole to fix first. And finally, the relationships tie it all together. A work order is associated with a specific pothole. A damage file is created for a pothole. And there you have it. That simple structure creates a logical, working system. You know, the really wonderful thing about understanding this is that it gives you a whole new way of seeing the digital world. This isn't about learning to code. It's about developing a habit of thought, a way of seeing the hidden structure in the technology you use every single day.
So here's a simple little exercise. Next time you're on your favorite app, just pause for a second. Ask yourself, okay, what are the main nouns here? The objects. Then, what are their adjectives, their attributes? And finally, what are the verbs, the relationships that connect them all? When you do that, you're not just a user anymore. You're seeing the underlying logic. You're seeing the thought and the intention behind it all. You're seeing the blueprint. And in the end, that's what this is all about. It's not just about organizing information in a clever way. The whole purpose of good design is to create things that work beautifully, that meet our needs correctly, and that, hopefully, bring just a little bit of delight and ease into our lives. Thanks for exploring this with me.